At least if you can understand the building structure, this is what the Quran comes. So we have objective studies done to demonstrate. So this defies what we call the natural principle of our world, the natural laws. We should be able to imitate it because it's a piece of literature. We have language with its own grammar.
A miracle, you couldn't copy that miracle.
Yeah.
You couldn't. I'm assuming from your perspective. Okay, that building I could copy. I could get the manual that you based to build that building. I could do the same thing, and if it's not, if I do a step by step the same thing that you did, I have to have the same building at the end, unless the material is different.
Yeah.
But what is the material of the Quran?
Exactly.
Like, from the objectively talking, I guess there's paper,
like. Quran is an oral book, so you have letters and words that makes up units of what you call sentences.
So right now, I guess how many Qurans are there in the world? Thousands, millions, right?
Yeah, but this
No. I'm talking physically.
But what we're talking about is not the physical structured book. Quran is a recital. It's a recited book, so I can recite the Quran from not me personally, but hundreds of thousands of people can. They memorize the whole book, right? So when they recite the Quran from beginning to end, this Quran comes with structures, what we call surah or chapters.
Yeah.
They have their unique features, without going into details, because language is not your field, right?
Yeah.
So my simple point is this. If I told you, look, I am the master builder, okay? I made this building without bricks touching with each other.
Yeah.
You cannot copy this building. So you have to at least admit that I made this building for a purpose and I am the master builder. So you will say, okay, fine. Sorry. You observe it. It's impossible for you to make it say, okay, fine, I accept you. You are a very skilled builder.
Yeah.
I don't have the means to imitate this building. So I will I will submit that you are a skilled builder. The Quran says this Quran is from God. If you do not believe that this Quran is from God, if you do not acknowledge it, then imitate the Quran, produce a chapter like unto it. One chapter, 10 chapter, a whole book. This is what the Quran says. But it didn't say. But it says you cannot do that because it's a revelation from God.
Okay.
So it offers you the challenge. The Quran offered the challenge. The question now is 1438 years at least has gone.
Yeah.
We are not in a better position now like they were before. They were speaking that language.
Yeah.
Okay. Even though we are learning language at that time, this was very, language of the people speaking, living. Even though today people speak that living language, but you can see the difference. That time they couldn't do it. They admitted.
Yeah.
And carried on throughout the centuries. They were unable to. So we are saying people have failed, and these studies will demonstrate how they have failed and why they have failed of any attempts they have done.
Okay.
So,
for example, from my perspective, I think that same thing. For example, in the Bible, if you tell someone, okay, do another chapter from the Bible, and he does it, and he does exactly the same style, using the words grammatically, etc., than the Bible, people is gonna say no, you couldn't do it because there's only one Bible, and because people knows the Bible, and they are gonna say that it is not just like the Bible because they already know the Bible. But the thing is,
so you didn't understand what I mean by imitation of a style.
Yeah.
Style.
But the thing is,
style.
Yeah.
You have styles of poetry.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have in Arabic language.
Yes.
There are 16 types of Arabic poetry. They call them bihar. 16 types.
Yeah.
Rajas, Dawil, Khafif, Madid. There are 16 different types. They have these distinctive styles. Okay.
Yeah.
So to make it, you have to follow the styles. They study called ilm al-arud. You study this in school if you want to study Arabic language, Arabic poetry, and then you can formulate poetry and you can say, okay, this poetry is based on Rajas, this poetry is based on Madid, and this is how everything is. Yeah. What you're saying may be different, the content, but the stylistics can be imitated. So I can say, okay, that is a style of sonnet of Shakespeare, for example. The Quran The style is none of those 16s, its own style. So if someone wants to imitate it, they have to imitate the style the Quran is revealed in.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They can't. People can't.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying, I'll leave this example there. That is why it's a living proof of a living miracle or something that violates the laws of nature. Because you asked, can I give you an example?
Yeah.
This is one.
I asked for it. Okay.
This is an example.
I cannot.
I cannot fully appreciate it.
Yeah,
but,
I cannot appreciate it, but thank you, because maybe someone does here.
Yeah.
So, but I do have a question about Quran.
Yeah.
And I apologize if I for my no, not offensive, because I'm not trying to offend. I hope I don't. But like, I apologize if I say something that is totally not like that. But I hear from a Jewish guy that there are like in the Quran, Muslim people are called to put in practice the jihad or jihad, and there are 4 types of it. Okay. So I want to know a little more about it, and how, like, from how do you think jihad or jihad should be done by a Muslim person?
Jihad, yeah?
Jihad. Yes.
Okay. So let's understand what it means first of all linguistically.
Yeah.
By the word, without the technical definition.
Yeah.
So I'm doing jihad right now. Now,
yes.
why do I say this? Why do I say this?
Quran's word.
Because jihad linguistically means struggle.
Yes.
You're putting an effort.
Yeah.
Making some struggle. So you can do jihad for doing your exam, passing your exam, right? You're putting this struggle into it. Okay. So when we struggle in the way of God to establish peace and justice, harmony and security on this earth, this is, in a technical sense, jihad. Okay? So you have the linguistic sense, any type of struggle, but striving in the path of God to be better, to make things better, that is jihad in the technical sense. So there are many ways you can do this. You can do jihad with your words, with your hands, with your actions, with your actions. So people conflate this jihad with the jihad that is the political struggle of the state. When Islamic State went to open up other lands, of course the Muslim army went, right?
Yeah.
And they opened up the lands. Some of them, they had to face the army of that country, and there were fightings, war.
Yeah.
Okay. So people generally understand that jihad means this kind of fighting. Okay. That's only one aspect of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that aspect has nothing to do with forcing anyone the religion of Islam, because Islam and the political entity called the Islamic State is 2 different things.
Yeah.
As a political entity, that was the way and means to take Islam, the religion, to the people.
Yeah.
Because today we have the satellites and all these technologies where you can just receive information from your own home, right?
Yeah.
Because it is spread globally with these technologies. In the time that we are talking about, Islam
had to go to
the people.
Yeah.
Now, to go to the people, there were certain countries like the Byzantines and others. I mean, they have, like even today, they have these borders, right? Political borders, where you cannot enter a state like this with whatever you want to do. They had this.
Yes.
So, and to take and say, look, I've come to tell you about Islam, a lot of countries would not allow that to happen. Okay, because the political autonomy people have. But if you really believe, like we Muslims really believe Islam is the ultimate guide for whole of humanity, it needs to reach the people. So how does it go to the people? Various ways. One of the ways is the Islamic army will go and tell the next land and the people there, the authorities, you know what? Accept the message that we are giving you, and they tell you what this message is. And that's it. If you enter and take the message, there's no fighting necessary whatsoever.
Yes.
Or, allow us to go into the land and people see Islam. They might not do that. Then they face the third option, which is, okay, because you have now become an obstacle from people receiving this message, they say, okay, you face our army. So that was the political struggle to make the religion of Islam to get to the people, not to enforce on them or force on them. Okay, so when it reached to the people, people had their choice whether they accept it or not. Okay, so what we found in historical reality is this people saw it, and then they joined the same Muslim army to open up the second land, another land. This is the only time in history that I know of where the conquered people joined the conqueror to open up other lands. Elsewhere, with other civilizations where people are conquering, when the conquering people left, they say, now we are at least they're left.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like this. They joined to go there because they have understood what the truth is, and then to open up.
Yeah.
Certain countries didn't receive any Islamic Muslim armies, political influence whatsoever, like Indonesia or Malaysia, for sure Indonesia. It was Muslim traders, Muslim, right? Indonesia, they did trade, and people saw their behavior. You are very good in your transaction, very honest, people of integrity. You don't give any less in measure. You give the good product. If you say anything bad or damage, you say this is damage, and you say, okay, that's why I have to take off the price. They were very moved by the character of the people, and they wanted to know what made you like that. What caused you this change? I mean, you seem to be a totally changed person. I mean, we are human beings like you, but there are certain traits that we haven't really shed from our behaviors. What is it that made you change like that? And say, this is Islam. We accept Islam, and this is what the message from God is. This that we should behave with people in this nice, kind, generous, just way, and this is what we're doing as part of our surrendering to God. And they say, okay, tell us a bit more about it. I say, oh yeah, that's. So, and then they became Muslims at large. In fact, the whole country is majority Muslims.
The biggest Muslim country in the world.
Which one?
Indonesia.
Indonesia. Okay.
In terms of the Muslim population, majority Muslims are Muslims, right? But so no Muslim army went there. That's the point I'm only making here on that.
Okay, so just my last question, and I'm not insinuating anything, but from your perspective, based on the Quran, what should a Muslim person do if they try to spread the Quran? The Quran message, and people just don't accept it. Like, have you done your part once you talk about it, or is there still something that, or you have to fight not physically,
very
but
good
fight
question.
Until someone accepts it? Like,
very
example,
timely and very good question.
You try to you talk to me about Quran. So have you done your part about spreading Quran, or you have to still pushing until I accept it? Not physically, or just.
As I said, this is a very timely and very important question.
Yeah.
Because people nowadays
based on Quran,
based on Quran,
not on your thought.
Based on Quran, people do not understand and appreciate, because what people see is the outward action of certain group of people, where in Iraq and Syria, how they're becoming so intolerant.
Yeah.
You remember how they destroyed and are trying to destroy. I mean, I haven't gone there personally now to see, but this is what we see, right? The truth, what the true reality is, people who are on the ground knows, but at least we can understand from there. It appears to be that they're forcing people and so on, which is not right. Islamically, we convey the message as best as we can. We try to make people understand, and then we say, okay, the decision is on you. So Quran says, "La ikraha fi din, qad tabayyana ar-rushd min al-ghayy." The truth, there is no compulsion in religion. The truth stands clear from falsehood. What it means is, because Islam considers to be truth, and the falsehood, which is not the truth in this case, is so clear, you don't need to force anyone to accept it. You just say, look, this is it. Yeah. You do it for your own good. You lose it for you. If you don't do it for your own consequences. In fact, there is a chapter in the Quran, a small chapter, is about Surah Al-Kafirun. To you your religion, to me my religion. Okay. So if you want to do whatever you want to do, that's up to you. But the consequences, of course, awaits in the hereafter, right?
Okay.
So this shouldn't be conflated with the political entity which goes to open up the lands to people to see the messages of Islam.
Yeah.
Islam as a religion cannot be, mustn't be, shouldn't be, whatever words I have to use to make it clear to you, on forcing on the people. This religion, this faith, you have to accept it yourself. And in fact, it is impossible to force a religion on people. Impossible. You cannot force anything on me, I cannot force anything on you. Because I might put a gun on your hand and say, believe, and outwardly you'd say, okay, to save your life, yeah, I believe. And then when you go and that's it, yeah, I didn't believe. It was just my mouth, words from my mouth, in the heart. So you can never force anyone to believe anything in their hearts, because that belief that's going to go into your heart and your mind is something that is not tangible to others, right? This is your only. And that is what you have to make your own decision based on the available information that you have. Okay. Because God is just and He doesn't desire any injustice in this world whatsoever. This is one of the key elements with truth and justice. They must come hand in hand. So if we fail to give you this message, this is only our limitation and our weaknesses. But if you are a person of inquisitive mind, reasonable mind, person who's using his intelligence like clearly you are and his intellect, you have to take a step. This responsibility to go and investigate and say, okay, let's see. A lot of people have read Harry Potter. Do you know that? Yeah. Seen Harry Potter?
I have read Harry Potter.
Right. Now, Harry Potter is a part of a literature, a story about this people and their school and so on, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't change people's lives like the Quran has done to the lives of the people.
Yeah, of course.
1/4 to 1/5 of the world population is shaping their life by the Quran. Imagine. 1/4 to 1/5 of the world population, their life is modeled, shaped by this Quran. And yet some of us do not even know what this Quran is saying. The Quran really deserves our attention.
Okay, so I have a question about Quran as well.
Go ahead.
For example, me myself, I do think I've been raised, as I said, as a Christian, and I still think, because I've read different parts of the Bible, that there are some incongruences in the Bible, like some messages that doesn't agree with other messages from the Bible itself. So I wanted to ask you if you think that the Quran is all the same message, or there are some messages that doesn't fit with other messages from it. And for example, one thing I just don't agree with the Bible or whatever is that you have to recognize and acknowledge God for go to heaven. And from my perspective, the most important thing being here in the world is how you treat other people and the impact that you have in the people around you. So I don't think it is that important to believe and recognize a God that physically you cannot see or you cannot feel. So in Quran, I think it is the same. You have to acknowledge and recognize Allah to be able to go to paradise or heaven. So do you think this is more important than how you treat and how you impact on the people around you? Do you think necessarily you have to recognize it to go to heaven?
You're asking very intelligent questions, very timely, very profound questions, which people should understand, because that is what's going to make us appreciate why certain people believe in what they believe. Right?
Yeah.
So let me try to answer your second question first before I go into the first one.
Yeah.
Because, as I explained to you and we agreed, there is a purpose of our creation, and the only purpose, or the purpose can only be known from the one who created us.
Yeah.
So if there is a purpose for we are created for, and the consequence of fulfilling that purpose is something that is going to be given by the Creator, because the Creator will be the one who will reward us or punish us. whether we're following His will or not following His will.
Yeah.
So God didn't want any of us to follow the path of misguidance, follow the path of error, follow the path which will lead us to torture and punishment. God wants us and constantly shows us the way to lead us to the path of paradise, bliss, joy, happiness, tranquility, constantly. So there are these two places. If you say, for example, someone doesn't need to be following this God's laws or His commands and obligations, so who is going to reward you or punish you hereafter? Because the punishment and the reward comes from the one who created you. Because He is the master, owner of the day of judgment. This is what the Quran says. He's the owner and master of the day of judgment.
Yeah.
And then the judgment, after the judgment will be done, you will be going to two of these places, either of these two places. So the reward or the punishment comes from the one who created us, who gave us the purpose. If you work for a company, and the company has certain rules and regulations, certain objectives, certain mission, that this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right. So suppose you acknowledge that I work for this company, sign the contract. Okay, I do acknowledge you as my manager, my boss, whatever, and then you start doing things, not fulfilling those mission statements of your company, the obligations that you're supposed to do, the work that you're supposed to do, but doing something else. Like, for example, your company was about doing something, like say in sales, cars, right?
Yeah.
Instead, you go and clean people's swimming pools, the dirt and so on. So good thing, you're making swimming pools clear and so on. You're cleaning the streets. Everything that you do is good, right?
Yeah.
But that is not the purpose that you are commissioned to do.
To be doing,
yeah?
yes.
So you shouldn't expect at the end of your month, if you're getting monthly wages, to be paid, because you are not doing the work that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So if the Creator created us for a purpose, you're serving someone else. If the Creator created us for a purpose, and we serve something else other than our purpose, then of course we haven't been fulfilling our purpose, and we shouldn't expect any reward in the hereafter. In fact, if we haven't fulfilled the purpose, that means the other consequence of not fulfilling it awaits us. Okay?
Yeah.
That is why it is important to understand the obligation that we have with our Creator, what we are supposed to do, and how we are supposed to do it.
Really good example.
Yeah. The prophets and messengers, that's why they are raised to demonstrate to us that these obligations, you are capable of doing it. If God sent angels on this earth and says, you're supposed to fast, you're supposed to pray, you this and that, you'll say, you're angels, you don't do any of that. Human, it's so difficult, But God made these prophets and messengers for human beings who lives and eats and drinks and sleeps and get tired. They showed us that it is possible. So we cannot have an excuse saying, I can't do it. Okay? Because they have demonstrated through their lives. That's the second part to your question, right?
Yes.
Going to the first question is very, very important, and I thank you for even bringing this up. Any message which claims to be from God, it has to be pristine, clear, unadulterated. It has to be free from any errors and free from any, corruption has taken place. Otherwise, what are you following? It might be something totally different to what God has said. Okay?
Yeah.
We believe, as God sent or raised up guides as prophets and messengers, He gave them the message. People followed. Some people didn't. And there are a group of people within these human communities and tribes and nations, they, from their own desires, wanted to change it.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like it, and they don't like others to also follow it.
One board,
They wanted to change it. To give you an example from today, right? So you will appreciate it. If now this country wants to ban smoking and alcohol from tomorrow, do you think they can do it from tomorrow? No alcohol, no smoking.
They can sign the law, but it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. You know why it's not going to happen? There will be people uprising and saying, no, you can't do that. Okay? It'll be very, very difficult for them because it goes against the interest of various people. Okay? The government knows smoking causes cancer, lung cancer and other things. They try to stop it, but still they allow cigarette being sold. They may put a heavier tax on it to curb the people or limit the people from buying it, increase the price. They might put a label there, smoking causes cancer, but they can't totally stop it because there's some kind of under, restriction from the interest of the people.
Yeah.
Right? Islamic stance were different. When Islam came, it rehabilitated people saying, alcohol, you know what, when it's come to pray, don't be drunk. It did it in steps. Eventually it says, alcohol is the handiwork of Satan. And when this was revealed, people realized, do not even approach us, the Quran said. They were bringing the barrels of alcohol on the streets and pouring it like this. That's how it was able to.
Yeah.
So, there are things which needs changing, but people object to it because of their whims and desires. Because people love it. They like to smoke, they like to drink and so on, right? So, throughout times, there were people who want to go against the guidance of God because it went against their desires.
Yeah.
They started changing it. Changes happened out of many reasons. This is one of the reasons. So things got corrupted. God, in His mercy, He sends another prophet, even to the same nation sometimes, because they corrupted it, to remind them back. Like the children of Israel. They didn't have one messenger, one prophet. There are quite a few of them, to remind one of them. Jesus Christ, the son of Mary, also came with a reminder after Prophet Moses was sent to the children of Israel.
Yeah.
But his mission was specific to a specific group of the children of Israel who the Bible describes as the lost ones. So the good ones are okay, but he came to the lost ones. He came to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Yeah.
Okay? So these prophets and messengers, they came to rectify the falsehood that was introduced and to clarify and so on. Right? Okay. So unfortunately for various religions, even though the origin of most of the religion is from God, God tells us in the Quran, just to clarify this point now, to understand my perspective. God does not punish a nation unless He sends a messenger, telling them, warning them what awaits them. Because otherwise it would be unjust. God punishing people saying, oh, you did that, and people say, I didn't know that. So God sends a warner. And God tells us, first point, right? Second point, God tells us He sent warners to all nations. So now we understand from this that every nation had a messenger or a prophet, okay, a guide, a warner.
Yeah.
So what happened is then, as they came, people later they corrupted this message. That's why corruption took place, and another messenger or a prophet may come to change it back to what it was.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the Bible specifically, it was written by various authors, various times and places.
Yes.
As time went by, people introduced some of the changes. And we can see the evidence of this change in libraries, in museums. When they have these manuscripts dating thousands of years, the earliest manuscript of the Bible is the Old Testament, Dead Sea Scrolls, Book of Isaiah and others, right? It's about 2,000 years. And you can compare and see so many changes that have happened. Now, I have a translation of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the three people that worked on the Dead Sea Scrolls are the one they translated it. Okay? Huge, published by T&T Clark, if I remember correctly. Interestingly, the way they've shown, every changes to the current text, because now we have a text based on some manuscripts, and the Dead Sea Scrolls. If you compare them, they will say in the italic form, that's where the difference is, and the footnote they will tell you, this is what the difference is. Every page you open, italics and footnotes. Every page you open. I did the experiment. Say, take it. Open up anywhere, 5 times, 10 times. Find a page where there's no italics, there's no footnotes. I haven't got it today with me because I haven't brought the bag. It's clearly that people have changed a lot of things. So when things happen by this corruption takes place, a lot of messages get distorted about who God is. Yeah? To give you an example where you would agree with me that doesn't describe God perfectly. You know the reason why there's a rainbow in the sky according to the Old Testament?
A rainbow?
Rainbow.
A rainbow.
We are told in the book of Genesis, the reason why we have a rainbow in the sky is because God made a covenant with Noah the Prophet,
Yeah.
peace be upon him,
Yeah.
and the covenant for all the future generations too as well. After the
Yes.
flood, it says, now, this is a sign of the covenant, that I'm going to put a rainbow in the clouds, and when I'm about to destroy mankind again,
Yeah.
and when I look at the rainbow and I see the cloud, it will remind me of the covenant that I made. Now clearly you can see this passage is not saying that people needs reminding, will be reminded. It says God himself will be reminded by the rainbow when he looks at the cloud and sees the rainbow. Now that is not a good description or a perfect description of God, because God doesn't need reminding. You know why he doesn't need reminding? Because he doesn't forget.
Yeah.
Someone who needs reminding is someone who forgets. So that description clearly doesn't befit the description of God. You can find many descriptions like this in various books, not only the Bible, which goes against you know what you would expect God to be. I mean, clearly that's not perfect description of God. So unfortunately, this has happened to the Bible, and this is why a lot of people turn away from the Bible. Okay, and they become atheists, but they don't realize that, okay, maybe this is the corruption that has happened. Where is the pure form of God's revelation? They don't really consider the Quran, which came as the final book from God. So the Quran reminds people saying, look, I have sent the Torah and the Injil before, and prophets and messengers before to other nations. And I have told them, I've did this with them. This is what happened to Prophet Noah and Prophet Ibrahim and so on and so forth. So learn from the examples, learn from the history of what happened, learn from what happened to Pharaoh. So the Quran describes. So now the important thing is, as you asked the question, what about the Quran? Does the Quran incohere, contradict, have discrepancies between the messages? You'll be surprised. This is one of the challenge of the Quran, or a falsification test from the Quran. The Quran uses this as a falsification test. It says, had this book been not from Allah, this Quran been not from Allah, you'd find many discrepancies, many contradictions, many errors. Ikhtilafan kathira, many. So it's inviting people to ponder and research, reflect on this book. Because this book, the Quran, talks about so many different things. From astrophysics to biology, from economics from history, from you name it, all aspects of our life. Quran gives you information and guidance. And yet, it doesn't contradict. It doesn't give you discrepancies in the reality. So if this is the case, then you know that this book is what it claims to be from God. Because if it wasn't, a book of this kind would contain contradictions. Yeah. So the Quran uses this as a falsification test. So the answer is no, the Quran is unique in that it doesn't have contradictions. And in fact, this is what we come here to share. If anyone thinks there is a contradiction in anything, let us discuss this. I mean, we come here to clarify that, because this is a point where the Quran is introduced to the people. Look, the Quran gives its own falsification test.
Okay.
One is imitation, the other one is this. There's various others, but this is something that you can have. I hope this is a good introduction for you to read the Quran.
Okay, yeah,
and reflect.
I might. Yeah,
reflect on it.
My sister has read it.
Yeah.
I'm curious about it. I always thought about reading, and I hope that day will come. But thank you for sharing your wisdom and for teaching me things I didn't know, and congrats for practicing the jihad today.
That's right. It's been very nice.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
And you're so inspiring.
Very pleasure talking to you.
Not just from the spiritual perspective, but as a person, you're very inspiring.
We just hope, there's a copy, the brother's offering you.
Oh, okay.
There you go, English translation.
Okay.
£10.
Okay. Thank you very much. Who gave it?
My brother here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So there are various ways you can read the Quran.
Yes.
Beginning, finished at the end, or you can study thematically.
Yeah.
What does the Quran talk about God? The concept of God, for example. What does the Quran talk about human beings?
Yeah.
About heaven and hell? You can choose the way you like.
Yeah.
And then look at this. If you study the concept of God, you'll say, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I appreciate this is what God should be and God is. So this is what we are saying. The Quran describes God perfectly. Describes reality as it is, and it invites people to be good and to be just, so that you strive better in this life, and by fulfilling the purpose in the hereafter awaits you the eternal bliss, joy, and happiness.
Okay.
What's your
Wish
name?
you the best. Javi.
Nice
Javi
talking to you.
from
Take care.
Spain.
My name is Mansur. Mansur.
Mansur. Where are you from?
I'm from Bangladesh. Originally.
Bangladesh. Okay.
Okay, we're from all over the places.
Yeah.
If you look everyone's.
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Islam is not limited to
Of
Arabia,
course.
right?
I know. Okay, I hope
You
I'll
take
see
care.
you guys around.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe next Sunday.
Sure. You take
It's been
care.
a pleasure.
You too.
Have a good day.